The Philadelphia 76ers have cooled down slightly off their red-hot start to the season, now losing 2 consecutive games to fall to 8-3 on the season. I just dropped a video with my takeaways from the Celtics loss and why there are some bigger picture concerns I have with this team, most specifically on the disparity in three-point attempts and the perimeter creation that other teams are having way too easily. In this video, I want to point to the solution to that problem, which I believe could be Jaden Springer. Now, before I dive fully into it, I do want to make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button. That at this point in time, 82.8% of you guys have not subscribed to the channel just yet. We have plenty of big plans for Sixers Digest this season. The season is in full swing already, and I'm going to be with you start to finish to break everything down. Now, let's get into the topic of today, which is, of course, Jaden Springer. So Sixers coming off a 117-107 loss to the Celtics last night. To touch a little bit on the box score, you can see Jaden Springer here. 9 points in 20 minutes of play, led all bench players with 20 minutes. He also added 2 rebounds, 2 steals, shot 4 of 5 from the field, and 1 for 1 from 3. And as I mentioned, a plus 20 in 20 minutes, which is incredibly impressive there. Now, one of the things that I was very excited about in this matchup is Nick Nurse seemed to gain a little bit of trust for Springer. That we saw him get rolled out there to start the second quarter after the Sixers were down 17 points. He provided a spark to this team that was desperately needed and really changed the game from the Sixers' perspective. Now, this isn't the roster in its entirety, and I think that's important to note in the context of this, that the Sixers desperately missed both Kelly Oubre Jr. and Nicholas Batum in last night's game. We can tell that their wing depth is pretty depleted, and we saw a limitation from guys like Marcus Morris, Patrick Beverley. Robert Covington played very well, so I'm not going to throw him into this mix, but you see the limited options that they have across this. Now, to touch on Jaden Springer, it's tough to figure out what we truly have in Springer just yet. He's 21 years old. This is his third year in the league. He was pretty much kept under wraps under the Doc Rivers era. And so far to start this season, Nick Nurse has shown a similar mindset. That we've seen a very small sample size of Jaden Springer, but last night was by far his most impressive performance. And the play specifically that I think embodies what Springer is capable of and where I see his long-term outlook as a player is a defensive-minded guard who is capable of making these forcing these turnovers and creating in transition in this way. So to dive into the statement play that I believe helped swing the game last night, we have this clip from Springer right here. So you can see the corner 3, which he shoots confidently over the Luke Cornett contest, and then my favorite part is this play immediately after. Look at the way Tatum's ready for the pass. Springer can read it, jumps the lane, takes it all the way down the other end, and finishes with a dunk. He had another play later in this game guarding Tatum once again where he just picked his pocket and directly took it the opposite direction and slammed it down. Those types of plays matter over the course of this game. Those types of 2-point swings or where you create a turnover, finish down the other end, those not only just add 2 points to the score and give your team a bucket, but they really change the momentum when you talk about making life difficult for getting up the court, setting the tone defensively, and making life just harder for the opponents to operate. Jaden Springer has special defensive characteristics and instincts, which nobody else really on the Sixers team has. Don't forget, this is the same guy that in preseason met Jason Tatum at the ring with this impressive play here.
It's a team essentially that went 17-7. Training like he's a rookie again as Jaden Springer. Wow. Just denies Jason Tatum.
Now, as I mentioned, that we still don't have a full feel for what Jaden Springer will be as a basketball player, that he's got very limited opportunity at the NBA level, spent the past 2 seasons primarily at the G League, and to take a look at what he produced in those seasons. Last year, he had had an impressive performance in 26.2 minutes per game, averaged 17.7 points, shot 54.2% from the field, 31.3% from 3, which is a little bit concerning there, but he also added 2.8 rebounds, 2.0 assists, and that 2.0 steals and 1.2 blocks is the thing that appeals to me the most. These also are some improvements across the board here. In his first season of the G League, he was at just 15 points per game, saw his field goal percentage and 3-point percentage take a leap from his rookie to second year. We also saw an improvement in a little dip back in playmaking, but a slight improvement in the steals and a slight improvement in the blocks. So there was a leap here. I will say that taking in a couple games here and there, I wasn't able to watch him on a night-to-night basis of the Blue Coats, but I did make my way down for a handful of games last year, and there did feel to be a little bit of change in composure and just his gut instincts and feel for where to be in a game. That was kind of my concern with Springer coming into the NBA. The Sixers knew that he was a project-type player. He was 18 years old, and think about at 21 right now that there are rookies that came in this season that are already younger than Springer. So they knew that it was a project-type situation, and it was going to take some time to develop him. Now, it does look like the impressive play against the Celtics, and once again, to rattle off that stat. In his 20 minutes off the bench, a plus 20 where he added 9 points, 2 rebounds, shot 4 of 5 from the field. It looks like Nick Nurse took notice of that as well. And the reason I say that, because in post-game, he was asked about Springer specifically and said he probably earned some more minutes going forward. So that is good to hear there, that it is being recognized. And to shout out Nick Nurse specifically for his kind of feel of the game, is this was something that under Doc Rivers would not have happened, is that Springer shined early on in this game. We saw him make an impact, and he ultimately just stuck with him throughout. That seeing him lead the bench in minutes with 20 is something that was not on the game plan heading into that game, one would think, and Nick Nurse continued to roll with the hot hand. So that is a sign of positivity and a sign of progress for this. Now, these stats specifically, I do want to make clear, you do have to take with a grain of salt just because of the small sample size. That we know we have not seen a true body of work for Jaden Springer to judge yet, but shout out to Tiago at Edge of Philly Sports, who tweeted, per cleaning the glass, lineups with Jaden Springer rank in the 99th percentile in offensive half-court points per 100 possessions, in the 77th percentile in defensive half-court points per 100 possessions, in the 94th percentile in turnover percentage defensively, and plus 17 net, which is the 98th percentile. As he notes at the bottom here, this is only 107 possessions, so a small sample size, but still, those are strong results that are impressive. Now, to talk about this Sixers team specifically, we know the scheme as far as Joel Embiid is going to be the anchor in the paint, and the other 4 guys are essentially responsible for running around and chasing on the perimeter. There were some struggles with this at the beginning of the season, and then it looked like the defense started to click, and in the past couple games, we've seen some struggles show again. Jaden Springer is the most gifted perimeter defender on this roster as a whole. I get he's not polished offensively. I get he's only 21 years old, but that fact in itself should be enough to at least earn him an opportunity. And to pound the table for the same argument that I had with Doc Rivers these past couple years, is he's not going to get any better by sitting on the bench and watching. The only way that he's going to improve as a player, if you at least give him a little bit of leash and some opportunity to continue improving. Give him a specific job. Say, I want you to focus on guarding this player. Just focus on guarding the perimeter, doing these things, and making an impact on the defensive side of the ball, and then gradually put more and more on his plate. The way that he took this three-point shot from the corner yesterday, I was very impressed with. That is a confident, no doubt, I'm open and I'm shooting it moment. And then the play that clearly makes the eyes pop and really made a change in the game was him jumping this passing lane here. That is the Jaden Springer. That is what he's capable of. That is what we will remember of Jaden Springer, is those types of effort and hustle plays that can swing the momentum of a game. But for the Sixers specifically, they do have to find a way to kind of carve out minutes to make that the case. When you look down this box score as far as guys that have received opportunity, Patrick Beverley is coming off his worst performance with the Sixers so far. In his 10 minutes of play, 0 points, was 0 for 4 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3, 0 for 2 at the free throw line. He did add a rebound and assist, but was a minus 17 in his 10 minutes of play. On top of that, Furkan Korkmaz in his 3 minutes was a minus 8, which is pretty tough to do. He was 0 for 1 on his lone three-point attempt. Marcus Morris, in 8 minutes of play, he had 0 points, was a minus 16, had 1 turnover, 0 for 3 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3. Daniel House, 3 minutes, 0 points, 0 for 1 from the field. You can tell that for the most part, these are guys that you know what you're going to get from them, and the answer to that is simply not good enough. I don't fully know what I'm going to get from Jaden Springer yet, but it might be good enough. It's worth finding out what this kid can be, how good he can be, how much value he can add to this team, and really how he fits in the entire flow of things. I'm still more in love with the idea of Jaden Springer than Jaden Springer himself, but let's see what he can truly become. And especially when you have a backcourt partner like Tyrese Maxey, who I'm not going to insult his defense because he's gotten significantly better on this side of the floor, but he's never going to be a guy that is going to be a lockdown defender in that aspect. If you want to pair him with a guy like Jaden Springer, who has every potential to be that type of player, that leads to a lot of strong promise for the Sixers. So I do want to see that go down. I want to see if that is the case, if Springer could be that guy that this Sixers team needs. There's nothing that they have to lose at this point in the season. That there is still 70 games to play until playoffs. The Sixers are still trying to figure out and identify what the missing piece to this roster is. I think it's crystal clear that they need some help as far as another perimeter creator, another ball handler, and a true wing defender. Jaden Springer checks some of these boxes, and it's worth figuring out if he's ready to take on some of these responsibilities as we look ahead and take a peek at what this Sixers future has in store. So for now, I want the focus to be on getting Jaden Springer more minutes. There's no reason why we should keep running back with these veterans who we know who they are, who we can save their legs for playoffs if we need them, or frankly, they may not even be on the team or in the rotation when it gets to that postseason point. So let's figure out if Jaden Springer is ready for that. I want to see some extended run from him over these next stretch of games. I'm happy that Nick Nurse is recognizing the impact that he's made. We're still kind of to be determined on the field for how much trust that Nurse has for Springer. In some regards, he seems like his style of player, but it does feel like he's been a guy a little bit in the doghouse and not receiving the opportunity. And side note, I know I've talked about KJ Martin on this channel as well. We've yet to really see him step on the court for any sort of legitimate minutes. So throw him in there as well. Who cares? Who knows? Let's see what these guys can do. That is what the regular season is about, is figuring out who on this team is built for it, who is a long-term piece, and who is not. Give these guys an opportunity, and let's see what happens. But I appreciate you guys for tuning into this video. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. What do you think of Jaden Springer? How many minutes per game do you want to see from this guy? And how impressed have you been by his performance thus far? Thank you so much for watching once again. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will talk with you next time right here on Sixers Digest. Peace.